Once again, we are back on Airborne's TALk Train of Thought with a series of an episode with Mr. Virendra S. Gupte, who is a consultant, corporate trainer, and company director, and ex-head of an TATA International Limited for 37 years. There is an excellent story exclusively on TALk what we have captured. Great learning for TALk audience and the practitioners who are listening to Mr. Virendra S. Gupte only on TALk Sir, now it's a great experience, great exposure. Now, what is the philosophy of leadership and how do you describe leadership as such?
Very difficult question. Maybe I'm not too competent or to respond or answer in a very holistic manner, but all I would say that leadership is a culmination of many attributes or traits. Mm-hmm. Now that leadership is holistic in concept, it's not in any human endeavor. Mm-hmm. But the key ingredient for that to happen is basically your moral compass. Mm-hmm. And therefore, to my mind, it is how you walk the talk, how do you practice what you preach. Mm-hmm. And if I may also slightly elaborate on this, Peter Drucker, once mentioned that management is doing things right, mm-hmm. and leadership is doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, therefore, it is about your actions, because as a leader, how do you motivate your teams? Mm-hmm. But prior to that, you need to figure out that how does one reach that level of to become a leader. Yeah. And to my mind, you need to be a very dedicated, diligent follower to become a good leader. Yeah. And therefore, I think it is complementary. Okay, you lead and you follow. Yeah. Because in every aspect of human endeavor, there is somewhere you need somebody to take you forward as a guiding light. Mm-hmm. And one of the important things which I have learned, the key thing in the Tata Group, is leadership is much more about not only market share or your revenue model. It is about the credibility you create. Yeah. It is about the reputation. Mm-hmm. It is about to what extent you inspire, mm-hmm. to what extent you have made a difference to the people around you. Mm-hmm. And therefore there is an element of moral leadership, right. And more importantly what we say, let's say servant leadership. Mm-hmm. The leadership means that you think beyond your immediate needs, requirements for the benefit of others. Right. You therefore need to develop the related attributes like empathy, mm-hmm. compassion, modesty, mm-hmm. humility, mm-hmm. right? And therefore, how do you look at the world around you where you can make a difference? Right. And if you are in a position where you can harness your talent, your skills, your resources, mm-hmm. Your abilities, what has been blessed to you as an individual, mm-hmm. Or an organization, how best you blend all this for the larger societal good. Mm-hmm. And to my mind, that is the manifestation of leadership. I think it's great. We have covered the holistic approach of leadership. No doubt, like your presence in TATA International for 37 years have made your base fundamental very strong. And now, in fact, every organization which like this have got some social accountability, like which is there. When we talk in terms of social accountability standards, like, can you throw some light for target audience on social accountability 8000 and ISO 26000? Yeah, sure. So therefore, I will correlate this question to the earlier discussion we had on ethics, mm-hmm. where I spoke about business ethics, value systems, and so on. Yeah. And therefore, when you talk of social responsibility or social accountability, it is now an extension of that whole concept of driving business ethics, corporate governance, mm-hmm. sustainable behavior. Mm-hmm. Now, here in particular, when you mention about social accountability standards, let's say 8000 mm-hmm. or ISO 26000. Now, it is very important to understand that this is not something like a frill or a fancy, mm-hmm. or a flavor of the season that you have heard or read about it and you are driving in your company. Mm-hmm. It is more customer driven. Mm-hmm. And I think that is most important to understand is that all quality processes, accreditations, or any standards, mm-hmm. which a company complies. Mm-hmm. Now, these two are particularly linked to those Indian suppliers or Indian companies and entities who are into international business. Mm-hmm. Now, SA 8000 is an American standard, mm-hmm. from SAI, which is an American institution. Mm-hmm. But the essence of SA 8000 is about social compliance relating to issues relating to human rights, child labor, forced labor. And the reason for us in the company, it was necessary because it was a requirement of the customers. And therefore, when you deal with customers in Europe and United States, customers expect us to be compliant in these standards. Okay. So now when we talk of SA 8000 in particular, as a manufacturing company and exporting company, you are looking at basic issues relating to human rights, issues relating to human right abuse. Now these are enshrined in the United Nations Human Rights Declaration Charter, International Labour Organization Charter. Okay. Issues relating to ensuring there is no child labor. Okay. Prevention of exploitation of under human rights abuse, etc. So that is where you come from. And therefore, how do responsible organizations ensure that they have systems in place where they will ensure that this will not be in any way violated? Okay, so there are those standards laid down in the SA 8000 protocol.
And you follow that.
You follow that. More importantly, it is about checks and balances. It's about whether you are an equal opportunity employer in terms of the wages, whether there's any discriminatory policy followed in the company, is there any forced labor or in terms of reward recognition and punishments, issues relating to internal audit and internal controls, for example.
Correct.
And can you be subjected to third-party audit? Because that is important.
Correct.
Transparency, accountability.
Correct.
And then there are global organizations and institutions like TUV Nord, for example, and so on, who do the accreditation and the certification part as regards your compliance. And therefore, once you comply, okay, many a times there may be some shortcomings, for example.
Correct.
Like wage, basic need wage, for example.
Correct.
Or overtime related norms of your company. Internal management workers council, whether there is a right of collective bargaining available. So those are the nitty-gritty, the operational part.
Correct.
So what is important is therefore you are giving a comfort to your stakeholders, your customers, that you are a responsible company, manufacturer, supplier,
Correct.
who is complying with these norms and going beyond compliance as well.
Correct.
Right? In whichever are your manufacturing operations. And also not restricted only to your manufacturing operation. For example, if you are doing outsourcing, right? Let's say you got a tier 2 supplier. You're doing some, fabrication work, or there is a subcontractor. You ensure that those systems are also prevailing there. That is the onus is on you. Right? So we have an internal process in the company, the teams, the infrastructure, the org chart is created to drive this. So it's a team effort.
Correct.
Okay. Maybe I may oversee that as a corporate function, say as a part of my corporate role in the company.
Correct.
But then there are others who would be process owners.
Correct.
Like there may be HR or admin guys in the company at the factory level.
Correct.
Maybe plant head.
Correct.
Maybe a supply chain or a procurement head.
Correct.
And so on. So it's a multifunctional, multidisciplinary. That's the SA part. And then the certification happens and that you share with your would-be customers, potential customers, or your existing customers.
Correct. The image of the reputation built up.
As regards ISO 26000, now unlike other ISO, 26000 is a guidance document. So it's not for certification. And that is again taking care of social accountability and responsibility. In terms of, let's say, your governance process in your company, ethics related, initiatives, right? SOPs, risk management, matters relating to stakeholder accountability. More importantly, educating consumer customers, compliance with global regulations applicable to your business. Okay, and the trigger for that in our company in particular was because we were dedicated suppliers to Marks and Spencer UK, and therefore Marks and Spencer triggered this when ISO 26000 was just born. Okay, and they wanted to drive it in a few companies as a test. What we call as a prototype. How does it work?
Correct.
And Marks and Spencer nominated, I think, 6 or 9 companies across 3 countries: Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and India. And in India, we were one of the companies.
Nice.
And therefore, it was an extraordinary initiative driven proactively by Marks and Spencer, supported by other thought leaders like Ernst and Young, and other domain experts. And as a company, we were told that can you participate? And we willingly agreed to do that. So that was a very interesting learning for us.
Correct.
And from an individual perspective, for me, as a part of that overall, corporate role in terms of regulatory affairs and governance, as a chief ethics counselor, driving social accountability, and so on. And therefore, you are able to develop the big picture and then drive the nitty-gritties at an operation level in the factories.
Correct.
Okay, and therefore, the whole purpose is that to how extent you are committed.
Correct.
Is it just on paper, just for audit purposes to appease an auditor, or actually you are driving it as a part of your DNA as an organization? Right. And I think those are the learning. So because you learn from best practices of a great brand like Marks and Spencer, you know where are the gaps in the organization which you need to plug. Okay, you connect the dots.
Yeah.
And it's a iterative process in that sense.
Correct.
Okay, every year you keep on improving in that journey. And I think every company in the world, for example, depending on which industry and segment they are, there will be these type of accountability issues.
Correct.
And social responsibility is now something which is expected of any company.
Correct.
Okay, because you are part of a societal responsibility overall.
System, yeah.
And therefore, how holistically you address the issue, right? Internally, as far your workers are concerned, whether direct on role or whether they are contract or they are on fixed terms, or whatever. And to what extent you are engaged with your community and also stakeholders.
Correct.
And in this guidance document, it is about how you are engaging with your stakeholders.
Correct.
How do you identify them? How do you what are their expectations from you?
Yes.
What are your expectations from them?
Great.
How do you reach a level of alignment? If there are any rough edges, how do you communicate with them?
Correct.
Two-way communication and so on. So therefore, at the end of the day, there is a balancing act between taking care of your shareholder investor on the one hand, the community on the other, your other partners, channel partners, and also your customer, supplier, vendors, regulators in terms of compliances, paying your taxes, etc., whatever, and so on. So in a way, that model is very holistic in nature. And as an organization, therefore, it makes sense. If you want to be a credible player in the world, as a Tata company, you want to build a brand and sustain that brand as a most trustworthy organization in the world. And therefore, these are like many. So these are two examples which we might discuss.
I think many times you can see this ISO certification, various certifications which are there. We talk about the ISO 14000 or 9000 or different certifications which are there. It's very easy to procure those kind of certifications, but actually if you practice and follow those kind of processes and be aligned with the entire standard operating system which are there, then I think it's more meaningful as well.
Absolutely. Because there will be always certain companies who may scratch the surface and just have that tick box type of a mindset.
Correct.
Basically just to get that certificate or accreditation.
Correct.
And there will be companies who are actually dedicated and take it to heart.
Correct.
In terms of driving it in a manner which has to be done in the righteous manner.
That goes for a long term. That would build
a reputation over a period of time.
Correct.
So it is, in a way, it is like playing a test match and not a 2020.
Correct. As rightly said, I think shortcut are the short circuit
True.
And if you have a particular skip mode, it doesn't sustain for longer.
True.
But I'm sure having those kind of a certification like ISO 8000 or in terms SA 8000 or in terms of an ISO 26000, and if you follow those kind of processes and the practices, I'm sure the things are going to be different. So thanks a lot for giving valuable insights for our target audience on SA 8000 and ISO 26,000, some valuable insights in terms of the...
And sir, if I may just interject here, it is a journey, please note.
It's a journey, not a destination as such.
So in all these processes, we try to improve from where we were the previous day to the today and the day thereafter.
Correct. I think all these ISO certifications are the journey, not a destination, and that's what I think ttalk platform is all about, where we invite experts like Mr. Virendra Gupte with a rich experience of 37 years in Tata International Limited, and I'm sure a lot of insights what our target audience are getting out of it. If you like this episode, just go to www.ttalk.net, subscribe to the channel as much as you can. Do catch up with Mr. Virendra Gupte in our next channel of ttalk. Soch. Till then, thank you very much. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much.